Mike Tyson, I've never seen anybody better. I've never seen any fighter, even Ali in his prime, even Ali when he was Cassius Clay. I never saw anybody who looked like Mike Tyson in his prime. I think it just, you can't maintain the kind of focus that was required to be this guy.
Was long dudes that had a good jab later in his career when he wasn't moving his head anymore. So I don't know if Jake can keep Mike off with his jab.
We're going to see.
Yeah, right.
But
If
Jake
it
will
happens.
grab him and wrangle. I mean, that's what he does good.
Well,
Like,
you
he
can
wrangles
imagine
guys.
Tyson's people are going to be in the back saying, don't let him, wrestle us.
He'll be wrenching those fucking arms the way he used.
Mike Tyson, I've never seen anybody better. I've never seen any fighter, even Ali in his prime, even Ali, when he was Cassius Clay. I never saw anybody who looked like Mike Tyson in his prime. I think you can't maintain the kind of focus that was required to be this guy was long dudes that had a good jab later in his career when he wasn't moving his head anymore. So I don't know if Jake can keep Mike off with his jab. We're going to see outright grab him. And rank. I mean, what he does good. Tyson's people are going to be in the back saying, don't let him. Restless. He'll be wrenching those arms. The way he used to Joe Rogan has leaked new Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul sparring footage. Meanwhile, Carl Fr. recently stated in an interview that Tyson is too old to be in the ring. Frock, a former middleweight world boxing champion, also criticized Jake, calling the YouTuber turned boxer that much of a bit and accusing him of annoying people for having fought against opponents significantly lighter than him. Thus far, in addition, he was questioned about his comments on Paul's desire that Tyson's fight remain on his career record. Fr. said, "That's just to create more of ang. That's just to piss more people off. My only beef with Jake Paul is that he can't really fight. He's not a professional boxer. He's not even in shape. He looks fleshy. He's got a layer over him. He doesn't look chiseled, and I don't know if he takes the training seriously." Frock further added, when Paul has got a 2 or 3 stone weight advantage on these guys he's fought so far, it's a mismatch, it's unfair, he's got an unfair advantage. When he fights, he's that much of a __. He makes it so he's so much heavier than his opponent. He's got such an advantage. Tyson has battled at 220 pounds heavyweight, which is unrestricted, while Paul has fought at about 200 pounds cruiserweight. Prior to the fight's rescheduling, Paul allegedly stated that he intended to bulk out to 240 kilograms before trimming before the fight. After his last professional bout in 2005, the 58-year-old former undisputed champion told the audience that he had lost his fighting spirit and his savagery. George Foreman, who stopped boxing 10 years ago and came back to win a world title at the age of 45, is one man who has experience with comebacks. NY Fights made the argument to Big George that Tyson ought to be able to drop and stop Paul even at this age. His response was lucid. He said Jake Paul is no pushover, and he is not afraid of any of these guys. Time is on his side. So happy for Mike Tyson. He needed this excitement in his life. Everyone is talking about it. Answer to your question. No. Foreman cautioned Tyson in a separate article with USA Today, continuing to compliment the younger fighter. He said, "Be careful with Paul. Only because Paul has tricks. Tyson gets hit with one punch at his age. You start to hear funny noises, and a first for the sport. Tyson and Paul will battle over 8 2-minute rounds while wearing 16-0 gloves. Meanwhile, Mike Tyson has been urged to back out of the upcoming fight out of fear for his health. Paul's sparring partner and Tommy Fury's former rival Anthony Taylor reveals this. Taylor has been collaborating with the problem child since the inception of Paul's 5-year boxing journey. At 58, the legendary heavyweight champion is set to make a remarkable comeback to the ring this November to face Paul. However, this professional bout raises significant health concerns, and Taylor only sees it going one way, stating that Paul's strength could easily cause Tyson to suffer a concussion. Taylor told Instant Casino Mike Tyson needs to take a leaf out of TC's book and pull out of his fight against Jake Paul. "I've worked with Jake behind the scenes, and trust me, you haven't seen what he's capable of. Tyson is a lamb to a slaughter. I worry about a concussive ending because Jake is a real fighter." Now, Tyson had to postpone their scheduled July 20th date due to an ulcer flare-up. Although he hasn't fully returned to training, he has made intermittent visits to the gym since that date, gradually ramping up his preparations for later in 2024. Paul, who is in the peak of his physicality, defeated Mike Perry and now has 11 wins under his belt. Taylor further added, "I've known him for 5 years, and he's developed into a real fighter. When Tyson tires, Jake will make Tyson pay. Jake's cardio is next level. Did you ever see Homer Simpson bide his time, soak up a bit of punishment, and then knock over his exhausted opponent? Well, Mike's 58, and he's going to get tired real quick. Undoubtedly, Tyson's extensive experience far surpasses Paul's, marked by his ferocious hitting prowess during his prime, which catapulted him to the pinnacle of boxing as the undisputed champion. He was often sharing training videos from his camp, seemingly showcasing his terrifying power in brief flashes. Additionally, Paul has declared he will deliver the decisive blow and implied he has the strength to rival the legendary puncher. Mentioned, I know I will be able to. I'm a natural-born heavyweight. This is what I was born to do, move up into this weight class and show Mike who has more power because he's underestimating me. And I believe I hit hard. Paul further added, I know it's going to be tough. I know I'm going to have to fight through adversity. I know I might even go to the canvas. I'm scared, don't get me wrong. But it's not about the fear stopping me, it's about going into it. Even though I am scared, that is what true bravery is. Moreover, Thomas Spinell has weighed in on Jake Paul, and his thoughts are unexpectedly intriguing. Fresh off his victory over Curtis Blades at UFC 304. The British fighter now has his sights set on John Jones. In the meantime, while awaiting his well-deserved title shot, Aspen had shifted his focus to Jake Paul along IDE Carl Cobra. Furch, who was shown a keen interest in the controversial boxer Aspen, although offered the four-time world champion some other guidance. See what he had to say then on the show. Honey Badger engaged the former unified IBF and WBA super middleweight champion in a lively discussion about UFC and other topics. During their conversation, the subject of the problem child came up, and Furch expressed his interest in a potential match with him. Aspen all said, if you want my honest opinion, I think you are above that. I don't think you should not fight Jake Paul. FR suggested that there was a lot of money in it, and the UFC interim heavyweight champion consoled, saying he already has money. Frock then said, and I won't want to get punched in the head by anybody who would seriously punch, because my health is more important. But I just think Jake Paul is an easy workmate. This is when Aspen confessed that Paul might be better than he originally estimated, but he is not good if compared to a boxing world champ. He said, in all honesty, he is better than I originally thought, but if you compare him to like an actual boxing world champion, Aspen, however, cautioned Mike Tyson about his bout with Jake Paul, viewing it as a significant risk. Tyson, nearing 60, faces a considerable age gap against the 27-year-old Paul, adding to the concerns the fight's delay was attributed to Tyson experiencing an ulcer flare-up just weeks before the scheduled date. However, Aspen had once complimented Jake in 2022. Let's take a look. The ex-Disney star has transitioned into boxing, clinching victories in the majority of his matches. This shift has sparked considerable buzz in the combat sports community, drawing attention from figures like Tom Aspen. Lately, Aspen's perspective on Paul has shifted, leading him to question Paul's legitimacy as a true boxer. Interestingly, back in 2022, Aspen had praised the star. He said, I think what he has done for me, I can't help but be impressed by that. Like, I think it's good, and I like the way it might be controversial, but I quite like the way he carries himself. If it's not for me, I wouldn't do that, but he and I are different people, so I like it. Conversely, he's drawing inspiration from the world of boxing, a realm where Paul excels. For UFC 304, he adopted an unconventional strategy by rising at 4 a.m. to acclimate his body to the event schedule. In an interview on M&A Hour, he revealed his early morning routine included shadow boxing amidst hay bales. Additionally, he immersed his hands in patrol for 20 minutes, aiming to toughen his knuckles. Now, we know that Mike Perry and Nate Diaz are two MMA fighters who have recently been added to Jake Paul's list of boxing victims. Last year, Paul squared off against Diaz in the ring. The Stockton fighter emerged as one of the most formidable challengers the brash American had encountered, yet ultimately fell short, succumbing to a unanimous points decision. The problem child next faced off against two professional boxers, Andrew August and Ryan Borland, who were widely considered underdogs. However, both fighters met the same swift end, each falling to a first-round stoppage. And we know that Perry was floored multiple times before the referee finally called an end to the bout in the 5th round. The two former UFC fighters are now focused on the Tyson fight, and their predictions for its outcome are drastically different. Speaking on Paul's podcast, Perry thinks that when it comes to fight night, his former opponent's youth will be the decisive factor. He said, I think Jake wins. I think he is younger, and I think he is doing the right things as far as what his team has him doing. It works. I wasn't able to add anything up on him. I wasn't able to have him punch himself out. I wasn't able to get him on the ropes where I could release a flurry. And at 58, Mike's age is something I'm thinking about. I think Jake gets that. However, when Inside Fighting approached Diaz to make a prediction, he vehemently insisted that the great boxing hero will win. What do we give you there, Doc? What is that? That's from Soldier's Baby. You already know. What's up, Soldier's Nice from Charles Rosa, a USC veteran. Hey, real quick.